So I think my assistant obviously sent the long description, which is the one that embarrasses me, and so I like for her to read I'd like her to send the short one. So next time, if there is a next time, I'll make sure that we get the short description. One thing I wanted to tell you is that I am so excited to be here. I spent 8 years in a classroom teaching social studies at a charter school at the corner of University and Wheeler, actually right behind the old Avalon back in the day. And so I was not always a good teacher. Does anybody here have a good teacher? Raise your hand if you have good teachers. All right, cool. Yeah, well, so when I first started, I was not one of them. I did something that is a cardinal sin in the teaching arena. I did something called teaching to the test. I know, just, so horrible, right? So what I would do is on Monday through Thursday, I would teach my curriculum. And then on Friday, I would give a pop quiz every Friday. And I had students that were surprised every Friday that we had a pop quiz. And so what I want to do, if you don't mind, I'd like to give you a pop quiz. And since I know, it's such a drag, right? Someone said only on Friday. All right, so I'm going to give you a pop quiz. But to give you the pop quiz, I have to give you the answers. So it's only fair that I teach you the curriculum before I test you, right? Yeah. Just know I can see you. So if I ask a question and you don't respond, I do see you, right? So here's the answer. I'm going to give you the answer to the quiz. And the answer goes like this. Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long, hook. That's the answer. So let's practice. Everyone stand if you're able. I didn't say willing, I just said able. So what I will tell you about being cool is if you're doing what other people are doing, you seem cooler than if you're not doing what other people are doing sometimes. Right? So here we go. So the answer goes like this. Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. All right, so that was good practice. So I'll give you the pop quiz now. Avalon, how do you feel? Now, if you feel good about that, you can sit down. But I was at another charter school, and they just ripped the cap off the sucker. So I'm going to ask one more time, and I want to know if you can tell me how you feel more than they did, and we'll see how you did compared to what they did. So Avalon School, how do you feel? So some people added stuff. That was good, though. Oh. So how many people felt goofy doing that particular activity? Anybody felt goofy, a little silly? Yeah. All day long. Well, what I want to tell you is that you should feel a little uncomfortable doing something new, doing something different. For many of us, we will be in spaces and operate in ways that are unfamiliar even to our family members. Going on to higher education, getting skills. Do you know that I have had 4 jobs that did not exist when my parents were in high school? I've lived in places and done things and gone places that my parents couldn't help me with. And so it's important that you get familiar with that feeling and you recognize that is a part of being human. I do want to take just a moment of silence to honor the victims of the shooting in Florida. I think we can't go any further until we at least recognize that. So if we can just take a moment of silence. Thank you. I want to say that part of the given in light of those things, part of the reason when asked to come, that I said I wanted to come and I wanted to be a part of this particular program today, was because I know who I'm in front of. So we're I don't know if anyone, have you seen that Cloverleaf Paradox? Anybody seen that movie yet on Netflix? Anybody? No? Oh, you didn't finish it though? Okay, go ahead and finish it, man. It's kind of interesting, right? So I won't give too much of the movie away, but I think it's an interesting movie because what they do is they send out this thing into space to try to get us energy. Because we've depleted, in this movie, they've depleted all of the energy on planet Earth. And so they're looking to space to try to figure something out. And because they've depleted the energy and they haven't taken care of the Earth, people are hungry, and people are angry, and people are blaming, and people are fighting among themselves. And so they're trying to figure out this thing outside the Earth to help fix our problems. But I know who I'm in front of. So people, what do you think is the most valuable, non-renewable resource on the planet? You said oil? So some people say oil. Yes. What's that? Some people say water or oil. Coffee. Someone said coffee. Donuts. Oil. And coal. All right. Cool. Now you guys won't appreciate this joke, but I was asking this question because you do have the right answer, and I'm going to come to it, right? So I was asking this question to a bunch of people, and they said your teeth. You're too young to really recognize the importance of, because you don't get new ones. You just have to. Okay, we're moving on, right? But you are the most valuable non-renewable resource on the planet. There will never be another you. Nation states, kingdoms have been designed to try to harness the power of you. Marketing strategies are designed specifically for you. They want you to wear their logos or logos, but we won't go into that space. You are powerful. And one of the things that we have to recognize is that not only are you powerful, but your power increases when you are in the service of other people. When we build community together, we are unstoppable. We're unstoppable. But there are things and ways in which the world outside of us wants to keep us divided and not see the beauty and the power that we all have. So let's look at some of these things, right? So I gave you a handout. And if you open up to page 2, we'll kind of talk about this idea of social justice. So what is this social justice stuff? So I was born I grew up in the 70s. And in the 70s, there was this place that people would go to take family photos. So family photos were a big thing in the 70s, and you would dress up in your whatever best, and you take these photos. And you usually would go like around Christmas time or Easter, because we were Christians. That was our big time to take these pictures. right? And so you would get dressed up and you go into the studio, and they would have like this oatmeal background in the back, right? Like really muted grays and stuff, not very attractive by any means. Did anybody experience that? Any of the teachers, you have those? Okay, so I'm not by myself, so you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So just ugly kind of muted backgrounds, but you would dress up in your family stuff. But towards the 80s, they tried to jazz up the thing, right? Because it was just awful. And so what they would do is they would do a double exposure in the 80s. And so you would take the family photo like this all together, but then they'd have you all looking up towards the clouds. And you're looking up towards the clouds, and it's just really creepy now. Like it's just kind of, it's like weird. And then they superimpose the two pictures on it. And this is before Photoshop, right? So this was like a big deal. So whenever we would take these family photos, and we took them annually, so every year we would take at least either a Christmas or a spring or summer photo. We would do that on a regular basis. And as I was growing, my hairstyles also changed, right? So I used to have dreads that went down to my waist. I had box that was as tall as I am, right? Back in the day, I had waves. I had something called a shag, and that was short on top and long in the back. I wasn't a hockey player, but that was cool back then, right? So stuff we'd have all these pictures. So when the pictures came back from, and this was before you could just print pictures, right? You couldn't just print them. You had to send them out and then get them processed, and then they would come back to you. So when the pictures would come back, who do you think I would look for first? Me, right? So when you take pictures, or you take family pictures, or your group pictures, you take school pictures, who do you look for first? You look for yourself, right? Now, what would happen if you took one of those school photos, right? So you look at your third grade school photo, and you were there. You remember the class, you remembered all the students that were in your class, the teacher, the whole thing. You have this picture, but you don't see yourself. What do you say? Somebody said, say what? Right? Yeah. So what do you say when it happens once? It must have been a mistake. Something must have happened, and they must have deleted me, or it just, it was a mistake. But what happens when that happens repeatedly? Yeah, you start to doubt yourself and even your own what? Existence. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Which leads us to this idea of social justice. So let's read the Declaration of Independence, paragraph 2. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Great stuff, right? Let's go to the Constitution, preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and securing of blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, those who are going to come behind us. We do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Woo! Aren't those powerful words? Yeah, you can clap. You can clap. No, that's good stuff. Clap. So one of the things that I know is that, first of all, I love the United States of America. I love this country. I love it. Anybody else love America? Love the United States of America? All right, cool. Good. Well, that's sad that you want to boo the place that you live in. No, this is a wonderful, wonderful country. And because it is wonderful, I don't know about you, but I have family members that in my family we talk about. Anybody have family members that you talk about? And sometimes it's not positive talk, right? Aunt so-and-so, she's this way, and Uncle so-and-so, he's that way. Anybody have family members like that? Sometimes you talk, yeah, right? So, but the thing I find very interesting is that although I may talk about my family member, nobody else outside of my family is allowed to talk about my family member the same way. Anybody experience that? Somebody else says something about your cousin, your friend, and they can't do that. And so, no, I can critique the United States of America because I love her so much. And part of my critique is when we look at those great, profound words, are there groups of individuals, are there people that are missing from that great picture of America? So what's the backdrop? 1776. What is happening simultaneously? We're looking at breaking away from King George. He's overtaxing us. We don't think it's fair. What are we seeking in 1776? Independence and freedom. So we're seeking independence and freedom. Simultaneously, what is happening? The transatlantic slave trade. So how do we rationalize these two things? We're seeking freedom while limiting other people's access to freedom. How do we reconcile those two things? We see certain people as property, yes. So people would argue that slaves were not people, so it doesn't apply to the Constitution. Do you think that went away? I would argue that it's probably morphed and changed. Right? That it's morphed and changed. And so we recognize that the transatlantic slave trade, as the founding fathers would talk about, Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton would talk about this as a necessary evil. A necessary evil. But we have to get rid of the evil and get back to what's necessary. Right? As we look at those words, who else is missing from those great words being included in this great American picture? Yes. Females, right? Women, right? So I would argue that given the time, they specifically said man to include human, but what we know is in practice, that was not the case. They didn't include all humans, but only land-owning males. Yes? Rich, white, straight men, right? And I would say, I wouldn't even necessarily say rich, I would say landowners, which also implies that you should have money, right, to own land. All right, great. So those are some of the things that are the backdrop for what we experienced in the reading of the Raisin in the Sun. And how many people have been exposed to that, either through the video or started reading the book? All right. Or the play? Right? All right, great. So those things become our backdrop. And so what do you think about history and what groups have been left out of this picture? So we talked about slaves and African Americans being left out of the picture. We talked about women being left out of the picture. Who else is left out of this particular picture? Yes. Native Americans are left out of this picture. Yes. So LGBTQ people. All right. Who else is left out of this picture? Yes. Muslims are left out of this picture. Possible Jews being left out. Anyone that's not Christian is left out of this particular picture. Yes?
Maybe anyone that was convenient to leave out. they didn't want to care about them, so they just kind of left them out?
So people who were left out because they didn't want to care about them? Yes. People with disabilities are left out of that picture, yes. People with mental illness are left out of this picture, right? Yes. Anyone that's not straight is left out of this picture. And so, yes. So all minorities are left out of this picture. Yes. People who can't afford to be in the picture are left out of the picture, right? Yes. I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Asian immigrants are left out of the picture, right? Now, what we do know is that as we move forward, we've made tremendous strides in trying to include people back into the picture, right? So in 1863, what happens to try to include people back into the picture? 1863. Yes. Not Gettysburg. The Emancipation Proclamation. So President Lincoln gives the Emancipation Proclamation declaring that slavery is now illegal in the United States and we need to end that practice, which is ratified by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution in 1865. Right? So we start that. What happens in 1924 with the Polk Act, P-O-L-K Act, that brings people back into the picture? Yes. So in 1924, women don't get the vote. They get the vote at the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, but that also happens. In 1924, Native Americans get the right to be American citizens without any precursors. Right? In 1970, what acts are created, what titles are created that give women equal access in academic settings? Title IX, very good. Title IX. And so these are all attempts to get people back into the picture. Now, one thing that I want you to be an advocate for is making sure that we do whatever we can to make sure that people get into the picture. Because you'll hear people say that we're trying to create special rights for people. Has anyone ever heard someone say that? That they're asking for special rights? When in fact, what are we offering people? An opportunity to be back in the picture that we said that they were in from the beginning. All right? So what is race? What is this idea or this concept of race? What is race? Yes. It's a social construct. Is that what you're going to say too? Okay, what were you going to say? So you're saying that race is melanin? All right. Sort of, kind of. I'm gonna work with you. I like that. And it's also evolved differently in different places around the world. So one of the things I'll share with you is that race is an obstacle illusion. And is anyone familiar with this concept of passive voice? Have you ever heard of passive voice? All right. So some people aren't recognized or didn't shake their head and said they understood passive voice. So I'll give you some examples of passive voice. So my brother and I knew we're not supposed to play ball in the house. We knew that. That was one of the rules. So one of the other rules was we don't talk back. So that was like number one. You don't talk back. The second was you don't play ball in the house. And so my brother and I are playing ball in the house. Now, again, in the 70s, 1976 was a big year for the United States. It was the bicentennial in the United States. And so my mom had these commemorative plates shipped because you could only get them through the mail. So she had these commemorative plates shipped. And so she hung her centennial commemorative plates on the wall, and we knew we weren't supposed to touch them. Those were like the sacred cows of the house. So my brother and I are playing ball in the house. And guess what we end up doing? We break one of her plates. So we think if we use passive voice, we might get away with it. So my mother comes home and she says, "What happened to my plate?" And my brother and I say, "Mom, a plate was broken." How do you think that went over? Not well. Because what did my mom want to know? Who broke the plate? Right? So when we say that race is a social construct or an artificial construct, what's missing in that descriptor? What's missing? Why? Not necessarily. So did my mom really want to know how the plate got broken? No, she wasn't really concerned. She was really clear it was broken, right? So it didn't matter how it happened. What was my mother concerned with? Who? So when we say that race is a social construct, there's an actor missing. So we need to find out who that actor is. And I like your explanation, right? Because that helps us point to the actor. Now, here's a story that I often tell. Is anyone familiar with a Ford F-150? Right? Okay, cool. Now, I will tell you just a little bit of trivia that most millionaires drive a Ford F-150. Isn't that cool? That's a little bit of trivia. I don't know what you can do with that, but it's a bit of trivia. So if I take my Ford F-150, right now we're in St. Paul. If I take it over to Minneapolis, does it change? No, it doesn't change, right? So let's say I take my Ford F-150 and I drive it to Manitoba, Canada. Does it change? No, it doesn't change, right? So let's say I take it from Manitoba and I drive it, hypothetically, I can drive it over to Iceland. If I drive it over to Iceland, does the Ford F-150 change? No, it doesn't change. All right? So the mileage is changing. Yes, it is. Right? So now I drive it to Scandinavia. So I'm going through Norway and Sweden and Finland. Has the Ford F-150 changed? No, it's still a Ford F-150. If I drive it down into Italy and cross the ocean and go into North Africa and drive it through Morocco, through Libya, through Tanzania, not Tanzania, we'll come back to that. But if I drive it through North Africa, through Egypt, and into Saudi Arabia, has it changed? No. If I was able to get that to drive through China, over through Japan, we jump over to Australia, drive it from Australia down through Antarctica, come up on Chile and Argentina, drive it all the way through Belize, through Central America, and right back to the Twin Cities. Through all of those geographic changes, has that truck changed? No. Right? Now, it'll have tons of miles and probably need a good wash and a tune-up, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same truck. But that doesn't happen with human identity associated with race. I'll offer you this, that there are no Hispanics in Mexico. There are no Hispanics in Mexico. Because when people are in Mexico, what are they? They're Mexican, or they're tribe, or whatever tribe or definition that they use. It is only when they come to the United States that they become so-called Hispanic. Did you know that your race can change based on where you are on the planet? Which then means that race is subjective. Did you know the racial categories that we use in the United States are not the same that they use in Canada? And the ones that they use in Canada are not the same as the ones they use in Brazil. And the ones they use in Brazil are not the same as the ones they use in South Africa. And South Africa is certainly not the same as the ones they use in Australia. Why am I teasing this? Because if we get caught up in what our so-called races are, we will miss the point that we're powerful when we work together. We'll miss that point. So race is an obstacle illusion. You underline that or circle that in your handout. It is an obstacle illusion. I know some people are like, isn't it an optical illusion? No, this is an obstacle illusion, an artificial barrier to authentic human relations. Anybody have a younger brother, sister, niece, cousin, little kid, right? When those little kids see other little kids, what do they want to do? Play. Do they ask about their so-called race or their background? Do they care what neighborhoods they come from or what their economic status is? Do they care? No, they just want to play. And unfortunately, something's happened to us that we have forgotten how to be little kids. And I would say it's not our fault. I'd say that we live in systems that benefit from us being separated. So let's go down to look at some of the truths about human beings. So here's one of the truths about human beings. Human beings can learn, change, and grow, even if we don't see evidence of it. Right? Anyone ever planted a garden or worked with the earth to try to raise a plant or food, right? When you plant the seed, do you go back and check on it every 15 minutes? No! Somebody said yes. No, you don't. Why? Because it takes a process to get there, right? Next is that people do what they think works even when what? Even when it doesn't work, right? You ever seen a kid fall out in a grocery store? I want some gum. Right? The assumption that I make is that this is not their first time doing it, right? And that they do it because they actually think that it works. And then next is that all human behavior is goal-directed, and we'll talk about those goals in just a second. But everything that we do is goal-directed. Now, as a teenager, I know it's hard for you to believe that I was once a teenager, but it's true, right? No, I remember adults would ask me why I did something or what was going on with me, and I would tell them, I don't know. I would tell them I don't know because I don't think that they really wanted my answer. So it was easier just to say, I don't know, than actually give them the answer that was in my heart, right? But I'm going to show you how to tell them without having to reveal yourself in ways that might anger them, right? But I'll show you that in just a second. And then lastly, attitude is a reaction to goal accomplishment. Sometimes we think that attitude is the emotion that is displayed, right? So, anybody ever see somebody with that kind of attitude, right? Or somebody might say that this is an attitude, right? When I taught, one of the most common attitudes I saw was this one. This attitude says, I dare you to teach me. Now, I could spend a lot of time dealing with those particular attitudes, but I'm less concerned about the emotional stuff that people are getting me, and I'm more concerned with what's motivating them, right? So, one of the things let's try this, right? So, anyone have parental influences, guardians in your house? You have parental, right? So in most cases, when these kind of situations go down, so you get a text, right? Bam. Hey, mom. I just got a text from Josephus, and I like Josephus. That's my favorite name to use. I just got a text from Josephus, and it's this bomb party about to pop off. Hey, can you drop me off at his crib. I don't know, you guys use crib? Is that? Okay. All right, I'll just talk from my experience. Right? So, Mom, can you drop me off at his house? His party starts in 5 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but my mom never liked these last minute things. Like, she's always, you can plan better and blah, 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 right? So I would stand there and I'd say, Mom, can I do this last thing? And then she would go through her mind in a split second of everything that I had not done yet or that I did wrong. I don't know if that ever happened to you, right? And so she'd say, you didn't clean your room up this morning. You were fighting with your brothers and sisters and blah, 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 going down this list. I'm like, dang. And so she would say, no. Now, I knew rule number 2, and I remembered rule number 1, which was what? What did I say number 1 was? No talk back. So she said no, that meant no. But I could have my expression. So I would express myself. And so I'd go like this. Mom! And then I slammed the door like I owned the place, right? Boom. So my mom, being a cool-headed individual, recognizing what is going on, and she was like, you know what? I unleashed on the kid. He didn't need all that stuff all at once. Actually, Josephus's parents are going to be there. I like Josephus. He should actually spend more time with Josephus, and he wouldn't act like this. So I think I'm going to let him go. So she come to my door. She knocked on the door. And she said, and I said, what? And she would say, all right, son, I'm going to let you go to Josephus's. You can't stay for the whole time. I'm going to pick you up at this time, and then we got some other stuff to do, so get your stuff and let's go. What happened to my attitude? Somebody said it became gratitude, right? I'm going to add that to my thing. Thanks. All right. Right? No, it transformed. Why? Attitude is a sign that you're getting what you want or you're not getting what you want. All right? So we'll move a little bit quicker. So if you go to page 3. So before we go to page 3, I'm going to hit this last thing on page 2. So what is it that we want? This is what we want. We're all looking for significance. We're looking for belonging. And we're looking for safety. So significance says that I'm a person with purpose and power. I was born for a reason. Either God will let me know what that is, or I decide what that purpose is. Right? So we are all here. None of us are an accident. We are all here for a purpose. And our job is to try to find that purpose. Secondly, we're all looking to connect with other human beings. I would submit to you that humanity is not a solitary thing. That we have to be in relationships with each other for our humanity to be seen. And thirdly, we're looking to be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and emotionally safe to connect with other people who recognize our significance. Right? So in Raising in the Sun, what was it that Mama was looking for her family? What was she looking for? Yes. She was looking for a house. Okay. Yes. She was looking for life. Yes. Civility. Stability. I would submit to you that she was looking for safety, significance, and belonging. I would submit to you that. What was Walter trying to get through all of his schemes and plans and all sorts of stuff? What was he trying to get? He was trying to get an alcohol shop? Financial stability. Yes. I would suggest that he's also looking for safety, significance, and belonging. Yes. He was looking for a legacy. Right? And so when we think about people's motivations, if we can recognize that we actually might have different methods of getting to some of the same things. So the way Mama saw the world and the way that Walter saw the world was very different, but they were trying to get get the same thing. And if we recognize that people might be on different political spectrums, that they might see the world differently, but we understand that we're trying to get the same thing, we can actually build bridges as opposed to consistently dividing. If we can see Black History Month as not just a month for Black people, but actually a month for looking at humanity and the humanity of Black people, it won't be a burdensome thing to us. Jeff Sessions, is anyone familiar with who Jeff Sessions is? Right? So Jeff Sessions is he's the head of they changed the name from the Department of Justice to the Department of, it is the Attorney's Office of the United States Attorney's Office of the United States. Interesting, right? So they changed it from the Justice Department to this other thing. And Jeff said something that's very bothersome, but I want you to hear what he says. And he says that it is important to recognize Anglo-American history as it relates to law enforcement. He said that's important. The reason that I want you to make to take note of that particular thing that Attorney General Jeff Sessions says is because he only states that because he feels that sharing a month, sharing intellectual space with other people is a threat to his people. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that because someone else does better does not mean you do worse. Has anyone ever heard someone say, I have to get my piece of the pie? Anyone ever heard someone say that? Yeah. Did you know that life is not pie? It's not pie. There is more than enough for all of us. Because we don't all want the same things, or we don't need the same methods to get to the similar things that we have. So my partner, my wife, she's very ingenious. No, not ingenuous. Ingenious. She problem solves, right? So she was going to make some buttermilk biscuits. Anybody like buttermilk biscuits? I love buttermilk biscuits, right? So she was going to make buttermilk biscuits, but we didn't have any buttermilk. So guess what she does? She takes whole milk, puts lemon juice in it, curdles it, and all of a sudden we have buttermilk. To quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park 2, life will find a way. Right? It'll find a way. And so we don't have to, just because someone else does better, or we're highlighting this, in November, we highlight Native American accomplishments in the United States, does not mean that anyone else is diminished by that. What it actually means is that we're lifting humanity. Because there have been people who've been left out of the picture. So let's go to page 3, just really quick, and then we'll talk more about raising in the sun in just a second. So there are pictures of shapes there. There are geometric shapes there. What do you notice about those geometric shapes? Yes. No two shapes are the same. Yes.
There may be a pie.
Good job. Thank you. Yep, I got you. Yep, shaking your hands is great. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. All right. So what else do you notice about those shapes? What else do you notice about those shapes on page 3? Yes. Some are filled in and some are not. Yes.
There's a lot of stuff we know, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about.
All right, there's a lot of stuff we know, a lot of stuff we don't know about them. Yes. There are similarities between all of them, and there are also what? Differences. Can anyone point to the good shape? Which one is the good shape? Okay? Which one is the honest shape? Which one is the smart shape? I think you get where I'm going with this, right? You can't apply those types of values just by looking at something, right? And you can't apply those kinds of values just by looking at a human being. And so we're capable of great accomplishments. We're also capable of great evils, right? And so it's up to us to figure out which of those we will be. I'm going to use my superpowers for good. How about you? So let's keep going. So there is, so in the middle of that page 3, there's equality, equity, and liberation. And what do you notice about liberation? Yeah, I'm going to take it, I got you, let me get your hand. That the barriers are gone. That the barriers are gone. So I am not an anarchist. I want to make that real clear, right? So I'm not saying that we don't need to have societal guidelines or boundaries, but I would argue that Avalon's success, that many charter schools' success, where their larger counterparts have been failing in some different kinds of ways. What we've done in the charter movement is really responded to what families and young people need and not what benefits us best. So bureaucracies are the systems that are designed by people who benefit from the designing of the system, even if it doesn't benefit us, the people who use the system. And so when we bring the accountability and the level of engagement directly to your parents, all of your parents have direct impact into how the school flows. That they invest by sending you about how the methodology of the school works. And so when we talk about this idea of liberation, we're really talking about eliminating artificial barriers to authentic human relations. We know that equality is also, we can talk about that as everybody having shoes. That equity is making sure that people have shoes that what? That fit them. Right? So one of the things that I thought was really interesting that in the play, and I don't know, so I had some opportunity to watch the 1980s version of the play with Danny Glover and Esther Rose. Did anyone watch that particular one? Okay. So one of the things that I thought was interesting was that Walter's wife had this pessimistic realism about her, right? So she knew that life had to go on, but people would talk about her attitude. And what kinds of things did they say about her attitude? Or what did Walter say about her attitude? Yes. Okay, so most of us haven't, but for those of us who did, yes. Rude things, right? So, how do you think you might respond or interact with the world that is oppressive to you? You see a world that says you should be in the picture, but everything that you do and everything that you say, even your own existence, isn't recognized in that culture. How might you engage with the culture? You might be negative. How else might you be? Angry. Yes. Disdainful. Upset. Now here's the thing that I think is very interesting, because people ask, why are young people disdainful? Why are they angry? Why are they oftentimes appear to be rude? And I would suggest it is because we have not seen young people in our picture. We haven't included them in our picture. And I'll give you an example, because I don't know if you've done this, but this has been done to me, right? So I'm sitting at a traffic light, and I see a group of attractive young people, much like yourselves, right? They're at the crosswalk, and the light turns green for them to walk across, and I'm at the light. I'm stopped at the light, and this is what I think is very interesting. So this is the situation, and they start walking across the street. Now, before they got the crosswalk, they were laughing and joking with each other and pushing and talking. But as soon as they start crossing the street, they slow down, and then they do this. Anybody ever have that happen? You're in the car. Yeah. Now, I will tell you, as an adult and somebody who's got good car insurance, I'm like, boom, just like, boom, I can just bump them, right? But what I realized was something very powerful. Because when I thought about that behavior, I thought about, why are they slowing down right in front of me? And then I go back to these three things that we all want: significance, belonging, and safety. And what they are saying in front of me is, you may not see me in any other way or any other place, but you will see me and respect me now. And what I want to say to you is that you don't have to wait till you get to a crosswalk to experience that. You don't have to wait and try to fit into a picture that may not have been designed for you. I want to tell you that you are powerful beyond belief. More than you can ever imagine. Let's go back to the back of page 4. Don't succumb to these barriers to your humanity. Historical trauma happens. We all experience bad things that have happened to us. But we can overcome those things in spite of them. Institutional racism. We can overcome in spite of institutional racism. We didn't set it up. Our parents didn't set it up. It's here. It's something we have to deal with. We have to acknowledge it. But we can overcome that. And poverty, we need to stop blaming the people in poverty and look at the systems of inequity that people are responding to. And lastly, we have to really question this concept of whiteness. Because whiteness, just like blackness, is designed to separate us from one another. So we can overcome all of these things in spite of them existing. People ask me, Andre, have things gotten better? And I don't know what to tell them. All I know is how things are. All I know is what I can do. All I know is that if enough of us link arm in arm, despite or in spite of our differences, and recognize that we're all looking for safety, significance, and belonging, we can overcome anything. My name is Andre Koen. Thank you so much for your time.